Hi, my name is Heather Grant, and I'm the media liaison for the Alberta's Teachers Association. Thank you for joining us online today. The Alberta Teachers Association respectfully acknowledges that we are located on Treaty 4, 6, 7, 8, and 10 territories, the traveling route, gathering place, and meeting grounds for Indigenous peoples whose histories, languages, cultures, and traditions continue to influence our vibrant communities. We are grateful for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today and those who have gone before us. We recognize the land as an act of reconciliation and gratitude to those whose territory we reside on or are visiting. Jason Schilling, President of the Alberta Teachers Association, is now joining us from Calgary. He'll provide a statement on the Government of Alberta's announcement about complexity teams. Once he concludes his statement, he'll answer your questions. Please use the raise hand function at the bottom of your screen under the React tab. We'll call upon you in the order your hands are raised and ask that you please state your name and outlet before going ahead. Everyone will have the opportunity to ask a question and to follow up. We'll then take any additional questions if you have them. For assistance following this availability, please reach out to myself, Heather Grant. A recording of this availability will also be available. At this point, I'd like to welcome ATA President Jason Schilling and hand it over to him.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. I want to begin this afternoon by acknowledging the tragedy that has occurred this week in Tumbler Ridge. Schools are more than just buildings filled with desks, books, and routines. They're vital public institutions, safe, supported spaces where students are seen, valued, and given every opportunity to grow. They're the hearts of our communities. And though provincial borders may separate us, the bonds of our profession unite us. When tragedy affects one school community, it affects us all. To the community of Tumbler Ridge, we extend our deepest condolences. We stand with you in your grief. Today's announcement of additional teachers and educational assistants serves as a long-due admission that the government has chronically underfunded our schools for years. This shift is a direct result of the relentless advocacy by teachers, bolstered by parents and communities who collectively demanded an end to the unsustainable status quo. Ultimately, this shared result, accumulating in the largest job action in Alberta's history, was a forced recognition of the systemic pressures facing public education and has brought us to this moment. Government today has announced this initial step towards restoring appropriate learning conditions in Alberta, especially those classrooms facing the most significant challenges. However, too often we have heard government officials say that they've heard the voices of teachers, but failed to act. Therefore, government needs to know that teachers and school leaders will be skeptical of today's announcement. The government's newly released data confirms what teachers have long known. Classroom complexity is not the exception. It is in 99% of our classrooms. It is the unfortunate norm. We will need to spend time analyzing the data released by government today to ensure that it truly reflects the nature of our class size and needs. The complexity is systemic, province-wide, and deeply entrenched. Transparent, comprehensive data, something like the Alberta Teachers Association has championed for years, must now guide all policy decisions. The high threshold set for intervention underscore just how widespread the challenges have become. According to government data, only schools experiencing 10 or more significant complexity incidents are supposed to benefit from this first phase of supports. While targeted intervention is necessary, it's only a beginning. Alberta must commit to stable, predictable, and adequate funding that reflects the full scope of the need across the entire education system. The Alberta Teachers Association will closely monitor the deployment of these new resources to ensure they result in real improvements for students and teachers. And it is now the responsibility of school boards to act swiftly so that new staffing is in place without delay. Teachers remain steadfast in their commitment to their students and will continue to call out government and school boards when they fail to meet the needs of students. While today's announcement provides support for kindergarten to grade 6, significant and unmanageable needs still persist in grades 7 to 12. Those students must be next. We all know a single initiative cannot reverse the years of erosion in supports, staffing, and resources caused by the chronic underfunding of this government. But in the weeks ahead, when we expect a new provincial government, we expect it to build on this step and move Alberta towards a fully restored, sustainable public education system, one that is no longer spending at the least per student in the country. In the coming months, we will also be looking for a comprehensive province-wide framework to address class size and complexity in every classroom across this province. The Alberta Teachers Association will continue to advocate its work and advancing its work on behalf of teachers and students across this province. The progress must not stop here. Thank you, Heather. I'm now available to take questions.
Sean, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, Sean Amato with City News. Thank you for doing this. Jason, in a practical sense, do you believe that three people, one teacher teamed with two EAs, can meaningfully address classroom complexity in an entire school?
Well, this is the skeptical part I was talking about. We've not seen a model like this. It's not been deployed in Alberta like this. This will definitely have teachers looking at this and wanting to make sure that government is putting in a model. And if we need more people in these buildings, we need more people in these buildings. We expect government to be agile to provide the funding that is needed within these schools. We are also looking at the fact that this is, the middle of February, and teachers were in classrooms, on strike, sent back into their classrooms after the strike in the exact same conditions. We need to see school boards move quickly on this to get these folks into buildings to help teachers out. And if there's a greater need within those spaces, then I expect government and school boards to step up and provide that.
Thank you. So there are about 400 teams, but there are about 600 schools which have been deemed high priority by the government's own metrics. What do you make of that shortfall there of about 200 schools that we know have serious issues but are not getting funded today?
Well, I know that government can also provide more funding to hire more people. They can make this happen. Saying to the Teachers Association or to teachers across this province, wow, this is all we have for now. You know what the problem is now. You've got the class size data. We have been saying this for years to government, and they have failed to listen. So they've got the ability. They just need the political will to do more because they've got the ability to do more.
Thank you for your questions. Janet, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hello. First question. I'm just wondering, I'm not being very eloquent, am I? Does Alberta have 1,000 EAs kicking around? Does Alberta have 476 extra teachers already trained, already ready in classrooms who are currently unemployed? Like, how realistic is it to be able to hire this number of folks across the province in the next, before June?
That's a great question, and it's a fair question. And school boards have a lot of work to do to help to make this happen. But we also had a government that has disrespected and devalued public education for so long. And teachers just recently with stripping their charter rights away with Bill 2. The government has more work to do to repair the damaged relationship with Alberta's teachers. They have more work to do to repair the state of our classrooms. And it is up to them and school boards to make that happen. By addressing the classroom conditions that we're seeing in our schools, we'll be able to make sure that teachers have the things that they need in order to do their jobs, and they won't burn out. They won't leave the profession. And government has to do that work. They're the ones who have to make this right.
And I realize you've probably only seen this data, this information for a couple hours at most.
Mm-hmm.
How much confidence do you have at this point that the methodology that they use to identify what they're defining as a high complexity, a medium complexity, and a low complexity school is accurate or meaningful?
Well, yes, we've just seen this data released when government had their press announcement today. So it'll take us some time to sit down and to analyze the data, to look at the metrics. So for instance, they have a section in there that is on class size averages. Well, what is the metrics that they used for that? How did they get to that number of 25? excuse me for a moment. We'll need to spend some time looking at that because I have some concerns about the average numbers that they have there. Because anecdotally, when I talk to my members, they are experiencing class sizes that are larger than that. But when you take a provincial average of a class that might be in a small rural school and compare it to a school that is in a larger urban center, of course, the average might look better, but that's not the reality of what teachers are facing in their classrooms.
Thank you for those questions. Lisa, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hey, can you hear me all right?
Yep, go ahead, please.
Great, thanks. I wonder what you think, Jason, about the timing of this announcement. Obviously, the minister and I think the premier said that they wanted to have a better understanding of the data. They wanted to collect all of this class size reporting before they made this move. But do you think that the government should have been doing this? I mean, ahead of the teachers' strike, and in the midst of bargaining, what was this offered in the midst of bargaining? Yeah, what do you think of the timeline here?
Well, when you go back to bargaining, teachers had asked for a student-teacher ratio that had a complexity factor that would have addressed a lot of these issues here, would have had people within the schools. In a perfect world, we would never have been in this position to begin with. We would never have been the least funded school jurisdiction in all of Canada. We would not have had a government that systemically underfunded public education to where we're in this crisis mode that's going to take us a while to dig out of. We will need to see just where we go forward with this, but this is something that should have been done years ago. In terms of timing of this school year, like I said, we are mid-February and we are going to quickly get towards the end of the school year. And so we need to see deployment of this happen right away. We need to see concrete, sustainable plans for the future because we've addressed the needs of K to 6, or they have, but 7 and 12 are also under extreme pressure. We know from our own research and our pulse survey data that we released in January that some of our largest classrooms are in high school. They are in schools that have 40 kids with multiple layers of complexity within it, and they will need assistance as well. And so we'll be looking for government to actually finally be forward thinking on this and actually start planning for a public education in this province that serves every Alberta student and that supports every teacher and school leader working towards that.
Yeah, you mentioned something I also wanted to ask about. The premier said that the government really wanted to, quote, get a lot deeper than just having some kind of arbitrary pupil-teacher ratio written into a contract, end quote. How would you respond to that? I mean, you basically just said that you had been proposing a teacher ratio that took classroom complexity into account. So is she being misleading here, or how would you react to that?
Well, she's basically regurgitating what the strike was about. We wanted this within our collective agreement because it provides certainty for teachers, for students, and for parents. It provides a concrete place where this is intact and can't be changed easily. When you keep these into government policies, they can be changed depending on the will or the ideology of the government at the time. And so we do want to make sure that whatever is being put into place is going to move us forward and not backwards. And that's a really key element there. I will also note that the premier and the minister had sort of said they needed to get a handle on what class size and complexity were. Well, we have been talking about this with government for years. And so when you talk about timing of having this information out and having this class size data, they stopped collecting this in 2019. And we have that gap of time there where we no longer have this class size data. And then they get it and look at it and seem to be surprised, even though teachers and parents and students have been saying, this is a problem and we need to address this now.
Thank you very much. Jacqueline, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, Jackie with CTV. I'm just hoping to circle back to the staffing of these almost 1,500 positions. I was speaking to some other people today, and they were saying how there were so many openings for EAs and teachers, even like before this, and there continues to be. So how on earth are we going to get 1,500 more people in the next month? I mean, walk me through how that actually could happen.
This is going to be a huge challenge. I was just talking to teachers last week at North Central Teachers Convention and again here in Calgary. Talking to principals who are saying they have had applications out to get new teachers at their school that have been going unfulfilled. They're not getting the resumes. This is part and parcel. This is part of the problem of this government. They have disrespected teachers, public education for so long that people are struggling to work in the system. They're not coming here to work. Teachers are burning out and leaving. So government has to really show that they're serious about what they said today, that they're willing to do this, that they're going to pay people, provide training for educational assistants to work within the schools, that they're going to respect teachers, their needs, listen to them, act on it, and then provide them the supports that they need to do. They can talk about the fact that they're going to hire all these people, they're going to build all these schools, they're going to do all of these things. Those are promises. We need progress from this government. We need concrete, real examples of them actually moving things forward. And once they start doing that and start proving to this profession that they're listening, that they're valued, that they're respected, you might see people come back to the system.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'm not seeing any additional questions at this time. We can take a moment and just make sure that all of your questions are addressed. Okay, if there aren't any other questions, I think we will go ahead and wrap this up today. Again, if you need to reach out with any inquiries or if you need a recording, you can contact myself, Heather Grant. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, everyone.